Most Americans think they know where their money goes. Rent, grocery, gas, maybe a credit card bill. But I realized something unsettling while reviewing my own bank statements late one night. Even after accounting for every visible expense, the math still didn't add up. Thousands of dollars a year were simply gone. Not stolen, not mismanaged, just quietly extracted. And that's when I discovered the silent financial tax you pay every single month. What shocked me was that this tax doesn't show up as a line item. There's no bill labeled "You're being drained." It doesn't arrive in the mail. It doesn't trigger overdraft alerts. And because you never consciously approve it, your brain doesn't fight it. It slips past your defenses. That's why it's so powerful, and why most Americans never see it happening. I started asking people around me, friends making $55,000 a year, coworkers earning six figures, parents nearing retirement. Almost all of them felt the same pressure. They'd say things like, "I make more money than I used to, but it feels like I'm falling behind." That feeling isn't imagined. It's engineered, and it's costing the average American household far more than federal income taxes ever will. Here's the part that made me uncomfortable. This silent tax hits hardest when you're doing everything right. You're working full-time, paying your bills, avoiding obvious mistakes, yet you're still losing ground. And this is where most Americans quietly lose thousands every year without realizing why. While researching, I discovered that the first layer of this tax is time-based inflation pressure. Not the headline inflation numbers you see on CNBC, but personal inflation. Your personal cost of living almost always rises faster than your salary. Rent jumps 8%, groceries jump 12%, insurance premiums creep up 6%. Meanwhile, your raise is 3% if you're lucky. That gap is the tax. Take a $60,000 salary. After taxes, you might bring home around $3,700 a month. If rent rises from $1,500 to $1,650, groceries from $500 to $580, car insurance from $140 to $165, and utilities from $200 to $240, you've just lost over $295 a month. That's $3,540 a year. No new purchases, no lifestyle upgrade, just existing. And here's the psychological trick. Because these increases happen slowly, your brain normalizes them. You don't panic over a $12 grocery increase. You adjust. You absorb it. But stacked together, these micro increases quietly tax your future. You won't see this in your bank statement, but it's silently draining your ability to get ahead. Then I noticed something darker. Debt doesn't just cost interest, it distorts time. A 22% APR credit card doesn't feel like a tax because the bill comes monthly. But if you carry a $6,000 balance, you're paying roughly $110 a month in interest. That's $1,320 a year for the privilege of staying in the same place. And what happens next is where it gets ugly, because that interest compounds. It steals future choices. That $1,320 could have been invested or used as an emergency buffer. Instead, it vanishes, and the average American carries over $6,000 in credit card debt. That means millions of people are paying a silent tax just for surviving past expenses. Student loans work the same way, but slower and more deceptive. A $400 monthly payment feels manageable, but over 20 years, you may pay $96,000 on a loan that started at $60,000. That extra $36,000 is a tax on past ambition, and nobody explains that cost when you sign at 18. I realized the system thrives on monthly payments, subscriptions, financing, installments, everything spread thin so it feels painless. $19.99 here, $12.99 there, a $70 phone plan, a $90 streaming bundle. Individually harmless, collectively devastating. The average American now spends over $300 a month on subscriptions without realizing. And here's the kicker. Subscriptions don't feel like spending. They feel like defaults. You don't actively buy Netflix every month. It just happens. That's why companies love them. They turn attention into revenue, and in doing so, they quietly tax your inattentiveness. Have you ever looked at your bank statement and thought, when did I sign up for this? That confusion is the sound of the silent tax at work. Healthcare is another layer most people never calculate honestly. Premiums come out pre-tax, so they feel invisible, but deductibles, co-pays, surprise bills, those are brutal. I found that the average insured American still spends over $5,000 a year out of pocket. That's not care, that's access. Even worse, healthcare costs are unpredictable. That unpredictability forces people to hold more cash, avoid investing, and delay risk-taking. The silent tax isn't just money lost, it's opportunity denied. Then there's the car. Americans love monthly car payments because they make expensive vehicles feel affordable. A $650 payment doesn't feel like a $45,000 decision, but over 6 years, plus interest, maintenance, insurance, and depreciation, that car can cost over $60,000, most of it invisible. What shocked me was realizing how normalized this has become. We don't ask, can I afford this? We ask, can I afford the monthly? That shift alone is one of the most dangerous financial reframes in modern America. And this is where the silent tax becomes generational, because when every major decision is framed monthly, long-term thinking disappears, retirement gets delayed, investing feels risky, and wealth quietly concentrates elsewhere. I noticed that inflation doesn't just raise prices, it lowers standards. People stop expecting progress. They settle for stability. And stability in this system still means falling behind. Here's something most Americans never see. Cash loses value every day it sits still. At 3% inflation, $10,000 loses $300 in purchasing power in a year. At 6%, it loses $600. That loss doesn't show up anywhere, but it's real, and it's another silent tax. Meanwhile, the wealthy don't avoid this tax because they're smarter. They avoid it because their assets move faster than inflation. Stocks, businesses, real estate. Their money grows while average Americans watch theirs shrink. I realized this tax punishes caution. If you're afraid to invest, afraid to take risks, afraid to make mistakes, the system extracts more from you over time. Playing it safe is often the most expensive option. And this is where most advice fails. People say, just budget better. But budgeting doesn't stop inflation. It doesn't change interest rates. It doesn't undo compounding losses. The silent tax operates above your discipline level. Have you ever felt like no matter how careful you are, you're still treading water? That feeling isn't personal failure. It's structural pressure. Even raises don't save you. A $5,000 raise feels great until taxes take a third, benefits take another chunk, and inflation erases the rest. Net result, a few extra dollars a week. Enough to feel better, not enough to escape. And here's the most disturbing part. The silent tax trains people to blame themselves. They think they're bad with money, lazy, undisciplined, but the math says otherwise. The system is simply designed to extract slowly, quietly, and consistently. I also noticed how financial education avoids this conversation. Schools teach compound interest in theory, not in lived reality. They don't show how compounding works against you when you're on the wrong side of it. What happens next will shock most people. The silent tax accelerates as you age. Healthcare costs rise, insurance premiums climb, risk tolerance drops, income plateaus. That's why so many Americans in their 50s panic. They suddenly see the math. Retirement isn't threatened by one bad decision. It's threatened by decades of invisible leaks. Small, constant, ignored. This is why two people earning the same salary can end up in radically different places. One unknowingly pays the silent tax their entire life. The other structures their money to resist it. If you're still watching, you already sense this. You've felt the pressure, the confusion, the quiet anxiety that something isn't adding up. That awareness alone puts you ahead. If you want to uncover the hidden rules that quietly shape American wealth, subscribe to Financial Underpinnings. This channel exists to expose the forces most people never explain. So here's my question for you. What expense has surprised you the most over the past few years? Rent? Groceries? Insurance? or something you didn't even notice at first? And another one, did anyone ever warn you about these invisible costs growing up, or were you expected to figure it out on your own? Because in the next video, I'm revealing something even more uncomfortable, the group that benefits the most from this silent tax, and why escaping it requires thinking in a way most Americans never are taught.